Welcome to the deep dive, where we like to say we swap those floaties for facts and just plunge right in headfirst into a new topic. And today, we're diving into the world of furniture shop management using these awesome insights from RoleCatcher's career guides.
Really interesting stuff.
Yeah. So whether you're picturing yourself, running the show at some really swanky showroom, or maybe you're prepping for a big interview, or even if you're just kind of curious about what this job actually looks like these days. Get ready for some serious eye-opening revelations.
Yeah, you know what I think is so fascinating is how this whole role of furniture shop manager, it's really transcended that old image, right? Of just managing stock and just arranging displays.
Like moving ottomans around.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
really become this dynamic fusion of you need leadership, you need creativity, and you have to have that business acumen.
Right. It's not your grandma's antique shop anymore.
Get-
This guide really emphasizes the fast-paced and the people-oriented parts of the job.
For-
So what does a day in the life of a furniture shop manager actually even look like?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's got to be more than just do we have enough ottomans?
Yeah.
Like we were saying.
It's like you're conducting an orchestra. You're not just managing a team. You've got to make sure every section's in perfect harmony.
Okay.
From sales to stock to customer service.
Wow.
And then the performance itself, you've got to craft a really captivating experience for the customer with enticing displays, exceptional service, and then all while you're hitting these crazy sales targets.
It's a lot to balance.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you need that creative flair we were talking about,
Right.
but then you need that sharp business mind too, because this guide talks a lot about understanding financials and negotiating with suppliers,
Right.
analyzing sales trends.
Totally.
It's this delicate balance between design and the bottom line.
Absolutely. And this is where the guide gets really interesting. It goes into the nitty-gritty of negotiation tactics just for this industry.
Okay.
Think about it. You could get volume discounts on bulk orders or figuring out delivery timeframes, even understanding all the crazy details in different supplier contracts.
So it's about being savvy,
For sure.
not just picking out nice fabrics.
You got it.
Okay, so speaking of career paths, the guide outlines a pretty classic ladder, right?
Yeah, and that can be really appealing to someone who likes to see that clear progression.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'd start as a shop assistant,
Okay.
which, to be honest, might not sound super glamorous at
I
first.
was just going to say, it's got to be more than fetching coffee, right?
Yeah.
We're not diving into Devil Wears Prada territory here.
Thankfully, no. It's about really immersing yourself in furniture, understanding the materials, the styles, the trends. Think of it like design school, but you're on the shop floor getting that hands-on experience.
So you're really soaking up the knowledge, learning the ropes.
Exactly.
And then, as the guide explains, you climb that ladder, sales associate, senior sales, and then finally the coveted manager's chair.
That's right.
Each step builds on the last one, and it gives you those opportunities for specialization and then ultimately for leadership.
And as you move up, the guide really emphasizes how important those soft skills become.
Oh, absolutely.
Because a good manager doesn't just manage inventory, they manage people.
It's about being a leader, not just a boss.
100%.
One thing that really jumped out at me in this guide was just the huge range of skills that it highlights. You need critical thinking, negotiation skills, even social perceptiveness. That's a pretty diverse set for selling sofas.
And that just shows how much the whole retail landscape has changed.
Right.
Today's furniture shop manager needs a really diverse skill set.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with customers on a personal level, understanding their needs, and then providing solutions, not just selling them products.
So you need that human touch.
Yeah.
You need to be able to read the room,
Exactly.
or I guess in this case, read the customer.
Yeah.
And then you've got to be able to analyze sales data, forecast trends, manage budgets. It's a lot.
For sure. And what's really interesting is that the guide connects all of these really different skills to how the industry itself is changing.
Okay.
For example, the rise of e-commerce. It's really changing how we buy and sell furniture these days.
Yeah.
It's not just about how many people walk into your store anymore.
Right.
You have to know how to handle online platforms, run those digital marketing campaigns. And you might even have to manage online sales and deliveries.
So it's like having two showrooms,
It's exact.
a real one and a digital one.
That's a great way to put it.
And speaking of digital stuff, I noticed the guide also talks about keeping up with design trends.
Oh, yeah. Super important.
How does a furniture shop manager even do that?
Right.
Is it all just like trade magazines and Pinterest?
Well, those can definitely be useful.
Okay.
But you really want to immerse yourself in the industry, like go to those trade shows.
Okay.
And that's not just to look at the newest velvet sofa. It's a chance to network with designers and manufacturers, other people in the business, so you can understand where the market's heading.
So you're ahead of the game.
Exactly. You're spotting trends before everyone else even knows about them.
Like fashion forecasting, but for living rooms.
I like it.
And don't forget about the internet for this.
Oh, right, of course.
All those design blogs, online magazines, even social media, they're full of ideas and inspiration.
Totally agree. It's all about having your finger on the pulse. What's new, what's cool, what are people responding to?
Sounds like you always have to keep learning in this job.
Absolutely. You can't just coast.
No coasting on those velvet cushions.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about job interviews for a minute.
Okay.
The RoleCatcher guide has some really interesting interview questions.
Yeah, they're good ones.
What was your first thought when you saw those?
Honestly, I was surprised by how practical they were.
Okay.
These aren't your typical, tell me about your strengths questions. They really want to see if you can solve problems, handle tough situations, and deal with the specific things you'd face in this kind of job.
They want to know if you can handle the furniture shop drama.
Exactly. And that's so helpful for anyone thinking about this career path.
Okay.
Because you get a preview of those everyday situations.
Yeah.
Like dealing with a really demanding customer or a conflict on your team, even something as specific as a damaged delivery. How do you handle that?
So you got to be ready for anything.
Be ready to think on your feet, that's for sure.
And the guide says it's important to have real examples to share, right?
Absolutely. They don't want to hear what you might do in theory.
Right.
They want to hear about your actual experience. So think back on past jobs.
Mm-hmm.
How did you handle a tough customer interaction or motivate your team to crush their sales? Those real stories are going to be way more powerful than just a textbook answer.
You got to walk the walk.
Exactly.
Now, the guide does mention some of the harder parts of the job, too, like the long hours, demanding customers.
Yes, it's definitely not always glamorous. Right.
It can be physically demanding, emotionally draining, and there's always pressure to hit those sales targets.
Yeah, for sure.
But what I appreciate about the guide is it's honest about all of that.
It's okay?
It tells you the good and the bad.
It's a reality check.
Exactly. But it's important to have those sometimes.
So if you're thinking about this career path, you need to weigh those pros and cons.
Yeah.
And figure out if you have the passion and the stamina for this kind of fast-paced, people-focused world. It's got to be a good fit, right?
Exactly.
Where you really love design, but you've got that business sense too.
Yeah.
And your people skills. Those are key for dealing with all the curveballs this job throws at you.
It really is about finding that balance. And that actually reminds me of something else the guy talks about, emotional intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big one in this role because you're not just selling furniture. You're helping people create their spaces.
That's a good point.
The places where they're going to live, work, make memories.
It's a big deal. So you got to understand those emotional connections. What are they hoping for? And then guide them towards choices that fit that vision.
It's like you're a design therapist or something.
Kinda, right?
Helping people furnish their dreams one sofa at a time.
I like that.
Okay. Before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier. E-commerce.
Oh, right.
That feels like the big question mark here. The online retailer in the room.
For sure.
Because the guide says it's both a challenge and an opportunity.
Absolutely. It's really shaking things up in this industry. On the one hand, you've got these online stores popping up everywhere, offering lower prices, more choices.
Right.
But it also creates some really cool new ways to grow and do things differently.
So how does a traditional furniture shop not just survive, but actually do well in this environment?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
The guide gives a few interesting ideas. One thing is to really focus on what online stores can't offer, that personalized service, the experience you can only get in person. So think personalized design, help in-store events, maybe even workshops where people can learn about caring for furniture or interior design stuff.
So you're making it an experience, not just a store.
Exactly. You want people to come hang out, not just click and buy. You're building a community for people who are passionate about design.
I love that.
And technology is important here too.
Yeah.
The guide talks about using online tools to make the in-store experience even better.
Interesting.
Like, what if you could use virtual reality to see how a new sofa would look in your living room?
That's so cool.
Or augmented reality to get more information about a product just by pointing your phone at it?
That's the future right there.
Exactly. You're combining the convenience of online shopping with the excitement of being in a beautifully designed space.
The best of both worlds.
That's what makes this field so exciting. It's always changing. You got to be ready to adapt, get creative, and really love making amazing spaces.
Well said. So whether you're into the design side, the business challenges, or just love connecting with people one-on-one, furniture shop management could be a really cool and rewarding career path.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher is there to help you along the way.
Absolutely.
Check out their website for all sorts of resources, detailed career guides, interview tips, you name it. They've got you covered.
This has been an awesome deep dive. We went from the shop floor to the top, explored all the skills and strategies that make a furniture shop manager successful, and we even got a little philosophical about the future of the industry.
It just goes to show, even in a world that's obsessed with online shopping, that human touch, it's still so important.
Couldn't agree more. That ability to connect, to inspire, to create something truly special.
It makes all the difference.
And on that note, we'll leave you with some food for thought until next time. Happy diving, everyone.